My kids, they know that I have OnlyFans. I am able to be free to be able to be in their lives more. So I have to pick something to wear today. The boys are gonna help me with a photo shoot.
Stop it. Get some help.
When I have them and they don't go to school or they don't have any extracurricular activities, so it helps me sometimes take some pictures and content. So my kids, we have a very open relationship, so they know that I have OnlyFans. Before you go in the pool, can you help me take some pictures really quick?
Yeah. Sometimes my mom needs help taking pictures sometimes, but I don't really mind.
Have you ever thought about the boundaries between work and family life, and how they might blur in some unconventional professions? In this day and age, the digital landscape offers a myriad of opportunities to make a living. Platforms like OnlyFans have sprung up, allowing individuals to monetize their personal content in ways that were unimaginable just a decade ago. It's a fascinating world, one that has reshaped the way we view the intersection of personal life and career. As we venture into this new territory, we encounter some intriguing and at times perplexing scenarios. One such case that has caught our attention is that of a mother who has taken an unorthodox approach to managing her OnlyFans content creation. She has enlisted the help of her son, not as a mere spectator, but as an active participant. He is her cameraman. Now, you might be wondering, how does this work? How does a child fit into this adult-oriented sphere? And most importantly, how does this impact the child's perception of normality? The dynamic here is far from the typical parent-child relationship we're used to seeing. Most children might find it unusual, even uncomfortable, to be asked by their parent to take a photograph of them in an intimate setting. Yet for this young boy, the experience is normalized. He sees his role as a helping hand to his mother, blurring the lines between family obligations and professional tasks. This isn't a narrative about vilifying or championing the mother's choices or the platform itself. Rather, it's an exploration into how societal norms have shifted over the years, and how this shift has led to scenarios that would have been unthinkable 10 or 15 years ago. As we continue this journey, we must ask ourselves, what does this tell us about our evolving sense of what's acceptable? How does this impact our understanding of family dynamics and the roles children play within them? So, let's delve deeper into this unique family dynamic and its implications. What does a typical day look like for a child in this unusual situation? Well, it's not quite the same as the average child's day. In the morning, when most kids are grabbing their school bags or settling down with a bowl of cereal, this particular boy is picking up a camera. Not to snap photos of his pet hamster or to document a school field trip, but to photograph his mother for her OnlyFans account. In this unconventional family dynamic, the child has been assigned a role that is quite unusual for a kid his age. He is not just a son, he's also a photographer, a collaborator in his mother's adult-oriented work. This role isn't something he stumbles into. It's a regular part of his daily life, a routine as familiar as brushing his teeth or tying his shoelaces. Now, let's take a moment to consider the nature of the photos. They aren't candid shots of mom making dinner or reading a book. They are provocative, intended for an adult audience on a platform known for its explicit content. The camera in this child's hands captures images of his mother in ways that most children would never see their parents. And yet, for this child, it's normal. He's been conditioned to believe that this is just how things are. That it's perfectly fine for his mother to ask him to take a picture of her in her new lingerie. It's happened so often, it's become the norm for him. In this particular household, the lines between what's considered adult work and a child's role have been blurred. The child is no longer just a passive observer, he's an active participant, aiding his mother in her work without fully understanding its implications. He believes he's helping his mom, not realizing the unusual nature of his involvement. But how did we arrive at this point where a child is so deeply involved in such adult-oriented work? How does something that seems so unconventional become normalized in a child's life? This is a question that many of us might be grappling with. It's a complex process, but let's try to break it down. The process of normalization in this context has a lot to do with repeated exposure. Imagine a young child on his first day of kindergarten, crying and clinging to his mom. The new environment seems scary, overwhelming, but as the days turn into weeks, the child adapts. He stops crying, starts making friends, learns the routines. The unfamiliar becomes the familiar. This is normalization. In the case of our young cameraman, the process is similar. The first time his mother asked him to take a picture might have felt strange, even uncomfortable. But with repetition, this task became just another part of his daily life. The unusual became the usual, Now let's talk about perspective, or rather the lack thereof. Children are like sponges, absorbing information from their environment to make sense of the world around them. But when that environment is limited to a single perspective, their understanding of what's normal can become skewed. For this child, his mother's profession is presented as normal because there's no alternate view challenging that notion. It's the only reality he knows. It's important to clarify here, though, that normalization doesn't necessarily equate to endorsement. Just because something becomes normalized doesn't mean it's inherently good or bad. It simply means it's become a part of the accepted norm within a specific environment. The mother's profession, in this scenario, has been normalized within the child's environment. This doesn't mean it's universally accepted or that it's without consequences. It's simply the reality within this particular family dynamic. The question remains, though, would this have been considered acceptable a decade or two ago? Our society is constantly evolving and our norms and values shift with it. But that's a discussion for our next segment. So, stay tuned as we delve deeper into the societal norms and how they've changed over the years. How have societal norms shifted over the years to accommodate such scenarios? Just a decade or two ago, this situation would have been unthinkable. Adult-oriented professions were taboo, relegated to hushed whispers in the corners of society. The idea of involving children in such professions, even indirectly, would have sparked outrage and concern. Yet here we are, in the year 2024, witnessing a reality where a child is not only aware of his mother's adult-oriented profession, but actively participating in it. How did we get here? Well, it's a result of a gradual shift in societal norms. Over the years, the conversation around adult-oriented professions has changed. They've moved from the fringes of society into mainstream discussions. The advent of the internet and social media has played a significant role in this shift. These platforms have given people in these professions a voice, allowing them to share their stories, humanizing them, and to an extent, normalizing their work. Not only that, but society has also become more accepting of people's choices about their bodies and how they choose to express themselves. This acceptance has given rise to platforms like OnlyFans, where content creators can monetize their adult-oriented content. But what does this shift in societal norms mean for the children involved? Well, it's not as black and white as it may seem. On one hand, it's a sign of progress. It suggests we're moving towards a society where people are free to choose their professions without fear of judgment or ostracization. On the other hand, it raises questions about the boundaries between adult and child spaces. It puts into question the appropriateness of children's involvement in such professions, even indirectly. It's a tricky balance to strike, and it's one that society is still figuring out. In the end, it's about finding a balance between acceptance and safeguarding the innocence and well-being of children. This leaves us pondering on the implications of such a shift in norms on the children involved. What could be the possible implications of this unusual family dynamic? It's a question that leaves us grappling with a myriad of potential outcomes. The psychological implications for the child involved are significant. Children's understanding of societal norms is often shaped by their immediate environment. In this case, a home where the lines between professional work and familial roles are blurred. This child, in all innocence, believes he's helping his mother in her work, not fully comprehending the complexities of what this work involves. It's a confusing narrative to navigate, one that could potentially result in a skewed perception of boundaries and appropriate behavior. Socially, the child may face a different set of challenges. The stigma associated with the mother's profession could lead to judgment from peers. Children can be harsh critics, and the potential for bullying or ostracization is very real. It's a heavy burden for a young child to bear, to be caught in the crossfire of societal norms and personal circumstances. Moreover, the child's perception of women and their roles could be impacted. The objectification and commodification of his mother's body could potentially lead to distorted views about women and their worth. As we reflect on these implications, it prompts us to question, what is our role as a society in such cases? Do we stand by and watch, or do we engage in constructive conversations to address these issues? Only by acknowledging the complexity of such situations can we begin to find solutions. As we wrap up our discussion on this thought-provoking topic, let's remember the complexity of the situation. A child, innocently aiding his mother, yet caught in a web of societal norms that are rapidly shifting. The need for open dialogue and reflection on such matters is paramount. This isn't just about one family's dynamics, it's about the broader changes in our society. If you found this video insightful, please smash that like button, subscribe with bell notification, and share this video to keep the conversation going.